The Galactic Empire prided itself on efficiency. Wars were not waged in prolonged battles, but concluded in calculated strikes. Yet, in their latest campaign against the human colonies, a single soldier had become a problem too great to ignore. Sergeant Alex Carter had no name in their databases before the war, just another expendable human. But after a series of engagements left high-ranking officers dead, supply convoys obliterated, and entire squads reduced to hushed casualty reports, his legend grew. The whispers called him the Ghost Sniper. His presence wasn't seen, only felt in the moment between silence and a fatal shot. The Empire was not in the habit of fearing individuals, but patterns could not be ignored. Their finest warriors had gone into the field against him, and their reports, if they came at all, were blood-stained and brief. He had to be eliminated, not with soldiers, but with something far deadlier. 3 assassins were summoned for the task. Sherikah, a specter of the void, her body a shifting blur beneath adaptive cloaks, moved unseen in the deadliest theaters of war. Dravin, a living weapon, his towering bulk enhanced with dermal plating and the strength to crush bones with his grip. And Zeltor, the strategist, whose mind turned battlefields into predestined executions. They met in orbit above the contested planet, standing in a cold chamber aboard the dreadnought Vanguard's Mercy. A holographic display flickered between them, projecting the only known footage of their target, a grainy, distant shot of human silhouette adjusting a rifle. A moment later, the feed dissolved into static, the recording cut short by a bullet piercing the recon drone. Arrogant, Sherikah murmured. He knew it was watching, and he let it. Zeltor corrected. That is the difference. Dravin flexed his fingers, the joints cracking like gunfire. So, where do we find this pest? The answer was a war-ravaged landscape below, where shattered cities lay beneath skies choked with smoke. The humans had long since retreated, but Carter remained, turning the ruins into his hunting ground. No patrol moved freely. No officer felt safe. The assassins deployed under cover darkness, their arrival silent, their approach calculated. The kill would be simple, efficient. It had to be. Sherikah moved first. Her cloaking technology rendered her near invisible as she prowled through the skeletal remains of a skyscraper. The wind howled through the ruins, masking the faint hum of her suit's energy field. She scanned for heat signatures, movement, anything that betrayed her target's presence. Then she saw him, a shadow perched along the edge of a collapsed bridge, rifle cradled in steady hands. A single breath, an effortless trigger pull, and the human would cease to be. She raised her weapon. A shot rang out. The world twisted. Sherikah staggered, confusion numbing her senses. Her vision blurred, and she felt herself tipping forward. The ground rushed up to meet her. The moment of impact never came. She was dead before she hit the ground. Zeltor watched from his vantage point, his mind processing the event with ruthless precision. The kill had been instant, a single shot, no wasted movement, no second attempt. Dravin growled. That was a fluke. Zeltor was not convinced. A message crackled over their stolen communication frequency. A voice, smooth and calm, laced with something dangerous. You missed. Dravin launched forward, his patience gone. He charged through the ruins, his footfalls turning rubble to dust. There was no hiding from him. No crevice deep enough, no vantage point far enough. His target found him first. An explosion tore through the air, not from Carter's rifle, but from the ground beneath Dravin's feet. A mine. The force sent him sprawling, armor scorched, balance disrupted. The sniper had planned this. Dravin roared, hauling himself up, his enhanced body withstanding the blast. His head snapped toward a distant building, movement. Another shot. The world dimmed. Zeltor saw the second assassin fall, not with the brute force that had defined his existence, but with the quiet finality of a hole punched clean through his skull. 2 shots, 2 deaths. Zeltor was alone, and then the truth settled upon him like a vice around his throat. They had never been hunting. They had been prey. He turned, retreating into the darkness, his mind racing. Their mission was compromised. Carter had not been caught unaware. He had been waiting for them, studying them, turning their own precision against them. The transmission came again, that same measured voice. "You missed." Zeltor didn't stop running. Zeltor moved through the ruins with the precision of a predator. Every step was measured, every turn calculated. He was not running. Running implied panic, and he did not panic. He was repositioning, adapting. That was what separated a strategist from a common soldier. But even as he moved, something gnawed at the edges of his mind. Sherikah had been the best infiltrator he had ever worked with. Draven, a walking tank who could rip through fortified bunkers with his bare hands. Both had fallen in moments, not in battle, not in the chaos of war, but in silence. One shot each. No second chances. He reached a shattered high-rise, its skeletal remains offering a vantage point. With careful precision, he scaled the ruins, each movement controlled. His breathing slowed, his mind sharpened. The advantage belonged to the sniper, but he was not without resources. From his belt, he retrieved a deployable drone, no larger than his palm. It lifted into the air, silent and swift, scanning the environment with thermal imaging. If Carter was out there, the drone would find him, and if the drone found him, Zeltor would end him. The display on his wrist flickered as the drone completed its sweep. Nothing. No heat signatures, no movements, no sign of the human at all. Zeltor frowned. That was impossible. A body retained heat after death. A rifle absorbed warmth from its user. Even the most disciplined soldier had a pulse, a breath, something, yet the drone detected only cold. Understanding struck too late. The shot didn't come from the ruins ahead. It came from below, a muffled crack. The sound dampened by distance and precision, and the drone shattered mid-flight, a bullet piercing its core. Zeltor had less than a second to react. He threw himself sideways as another round whistled past, tearing through the space where his head had been. He hit the rubble hard, rolling into cover behind a half-collapsed wall. Dust clouded the air. His breath came in steady, controlled exhales. The sniper had seen him, had anticipated him. But Zeltor was still alive, and that meant he had time. He activated his cloak, his form dissolving into the environment. Moving low, he circled around, never staying in one place for more than a heartbeat. Carter had no spotter, no assistance. He had to rely solely on his own sight. If Zeltor could break the sniper's line of sight, he could get close enough to strike. The ruins stretched ahead, a maze of shattered steel and scorched concrete. He advanced, every movement designed to be unpredictable. No patterns, no rhythm. Even the best marksman needed a moment to calculate a shot, and Zeltor would deny him that moment. He reached a fallen structure, its broken beams forming a natural tunnel. If he could just get through, he'd be in range. His fingers tightened around the hilt of his blade. A rifle was a powerful weapon, but useless in close quarters. If Carter was foolish enough to let him close the distance, the fight would end in a single stroke. A noise, soft, subtle, not the wind, not rubble shifting, something deliberate. Zeltor froze. Every instinct screamed at him to move, to act, but he forced himself to listen first. The sound repeated, just a whisper of motion, not ahead, behind. The realization arrived with cold finality. Carter wasn't waiting for him at a distance. He had already moved, a gun barrel pressed against the back of Zeltor's skull. The sniper's voice was calm, measured, a soldier's voice, but not one burdened by arrogance or cruelty, just certainty. You missed. Zeltor did not beg, did not plead, did not struggle. He had played the game and lost. His last thought, before the shot rang out, was one of quiet understanding. The Empire had underestimated the wrong man. The Empire did not tolerate failure. 3 of their finest assassins were dead. Their mission concluded in silence save for the crack of a distant rifle. No bodies recovered. No distress signals sent. Only the absence of further communication, which spoke louder than any report ever could. Admiral Voss reviewed the data with the cold scrutiny of a machine. He had witnessed planetary invasions, orbital bombardments, the extinction of entire civilizations, but never had a single soldier disrupted operations to such a degree. He had dismissed the earlier warnings as exaggeration, an enemy myth crafted to demoralize Imperial forces. But myths did not leave behind a growing graveyard of elite operatives. Failure was unacceptable. Mistakes required correction. And so, the order was given. No more individual assassins. No more subtlety. This time, they would send overwhelming force. The hunter-killer unit deployed at dawn. 12 soldiers, their armor reinforced with kinetic shielding, their helmets augmented with predictive targeting systems. Drones followed in their wake, scanning every inch of the ruined city for anomalies. Above them, a gunship circled, its sensor sweet-tuned for even the faintest heat signature. The mission was simple. Find the sniper. Kill him. Leave nothing to chance. They moved with practiced efficiency, advancing to the urban wasteland like a tightening noose. The lead operative, Commander Hask, paused near the remains of a collapsed tower, his visor displaying environmental readouts. The sniper had to be close. Every previous encounter suggested he favored high ground positions, vantage points with clear lines of sight. The squad's movement patterns were randomized, designed to avoid predictable routes. There would be no easy shots. Yet the silence felt wrong. Not the ordinary quiet of an abandoned battlefield, but a deliberate emptiness, a void, the kind of silence a predator created. Then the first shot rang out. Not a sniper round, but something far worse. An EMP burst detonated midair, frying the drone network in an instant. The gunship above sputtered, its instruments failing. Hask barely had time to curse before the second phase of the attack began. A controlled explosion rocked the ground beneath them, collapsing a section of the ruins. 3 soldiers fell as the terrain gave way, swallowed by the debris, their vitals flatlined in seconds. "Contact!" one of the survivors shouted, turning toward the supposed sniper nest. The squad opened fire, suppressing position with a hail of plasma rounds. Walls crumbled, windows shattered. The target had to be pinned down, but there was no return fire, no movement, only the distant echo of their own shots. Hask's mind raced. The sniper wasn't there. They had been baited. The real attack came from the opposite direction. A single shot, slicing through the chaos, striking a soldier clean through the visor. Another round followed before the rest could react, dropping a second operative mid-step. Panic set in. Some turned to engage, others dove for cover, but it didn't matter. The shots came in perfect rhythm, one after another, each finding its mark with mechanical efficiency. The gunship, still struggling to reboot, attempted to gain altitude. A final shot rang out, not aimed at the pilot or the weapon system, but at the exposed fuel intake. The explosion turned the sky to fire. Hask, ears ringing, barely managed to crawl behind cover. 6 men down, a gunship destroyed, and the enemy had yet to be seen. A voice crackled over his comms, hijacked through their own network. "Steady, cold, you should have brought more." The next shot ended the mission. The Empire did not acknowledge fear. It ruled through dominance, through the sheer inevitability of its strength. Planets bent the knee or burned. Armies shattered against its might. Enemies were not fought, they were erased. Yet here, on this desolate battlefield, a single man had done what no fleet or rebellion ever had. He had made them hesitate. Admiral Voss stood in the dim glow of the command deck, watching the planet rotate beneath his flagship. Reports streamed in, losses mounting, operations failing. A lone sniper had outmaneuvered their assassins, annihilated their hunter-killers, and destroyed a gunship. Now, he had vanished again, slipping into the ruins like a ghost. This could not be allowed to continue. There would be no more squads, no more surgical strikes. The planet itself would serve as his grave. The order went out. The fleet repositioned. Orbital bombardment protocols activated. On the surface, Carter moved through the wreckage of a dead city, his rifle slung across his back. He had watched the sky, seen the way the clouds distorted from the burning thrusters of repositioning warships. He knew what came next. No sniper rifle could stop an orbital strike. No amount of training could outmaneuver fire from the heavens. They were done playing the game. Good. He reached a ruined comms tower, its long-dead systems buried beneath layers of dust and broken steel. He had spent days preparing for this moment, gathering old tech, salvaging broken relays, rerouting power through forgotten circuits. The Empire thought it was hunting him. In reality, it had been feeding him data. Every intercepted transmission, every tactical update, every arrogance-filled command had been siphoned into his hands. The terminal flickered to life. He worked quickly, bypassing security, hijacking the signal, embedding a transmission deep into the Empire's own network. It would reach every fleet, every outpost, every officer who still had a mind to listen. His voice, steady as ever, carried across the stars. You sent your best. They missed. I didn't. Now the whole galaxy knows. A moment of silence. Then alarms. Red lights flared on the Admiral's bridge as warnings filled the screens. Unauthorized transmission detected. Military network compromised. It was too late to stop it. The message had already spread. Across occupied worlds, resistance forces heard the broadcast. The legend of the Ghost Sniper was no longer just a whispered rumor. It was a rallying cry. The Empire had declared war on one man, and it had lost. Carter stepped away from the console, his job done. Above, the first wave of bombardments descended, fire raining from the sky. He exhaled, watching the destruction approach, then vanish into the ruins once more. The hunt would continue, and the Empire would always miss.